Good afternoon, everyone. I am Koppula Kiran, School Assistant Social Studies, working at ZPHS Enlapalli, Surapet Mandal. Today, we are going to discussing about 9th class Social Studies, 12th lesson, Democratic and Nationalist Revolutions in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. In the end of the chapter, students able to understand these learning outcomes. We can achieve these learning outcomes from the students after this chapter. Let us discuss one by one what are the learning outcomes we, we can gain it. Students know the French society. Students understand the special privileges. Students analyze the different kinds of taxes. Students understand the French philosophers. Students understand the Bastille Fort broke out. Students observe and interpret the picture in the page number 159. Students locate the French, Prussia, Spain, Portugal, Austria in the world map. These learning outcomes we can achieve after this topic. Look at this world map. Students observe the world map. What do you observe from the world map? Yes, there are some countries highlighted with the color. Look at this is America, Britain, France. We have discussed already Glorious Revolution in England 1688 and also the War of American Independence 1783. These 17th century and 18th century revolutions we were discussed in the previous classes. In this class we will discuss French Revolution. Look at this picture carefully and observe the French continent, French nation. First, in 1774, C means Common Era. Louis XVI became the king of France. He came to the throne. The treasure was empty. It was found by him. What happened in the treasury? There was no treasury. There are so many reasons for the empty of the treasury of the country. Particularly before him, 14th Louis, he interested wars. He spent huge amount on wars with foreign countries and he expends on to build a buildings, number of buildings. In this way, treasure was maximum decreased. After him, 15th Louis came to the throne. He is also the 15th Louis came to the throne. He enjoyed the life with luxuries. In this way, he expends more and more amount on his luxuries. These are the main causes. Another cause is French help to the American colonies. in the independence 1774. Particularly, American colonies wanted to freedom from Britain, so they struggled against Britain to get independence for their country. In this way, France helped that 13 colonies against the Britain. These are the main reasons for the treasury was empty. In this case, the after 16th Louis came to the power, he found this problem and he wanted to increase its taxes. Mr. 16th Louis, look at this picture, observe the Louis 16th and his wife. He 16th Louis ruled from 1774 to 1792. He came to the throne at the age of 19 years old. He married in the early years. Look at that next picture, Mary Antoinette. She was Austrian princess. She married Louis XVI in the 8 years old. Actually, Louis XVI is personally had good name, but inefficient person to administrate the country or state. Particularly, Mary Antoinette is unpopular among the people because of she always oftenly interfere in politics. After came to the Louis XVI throne, he wanted to impose new taxes. So he wanted to in this case he called for meeting for to impose taxes. First we look at this picture. The French society was. What is the French society? What is the society? In the French society was divided into 3 classes, which were called estates. So French society was called estates. There are 3 estates: first estate general, second estate general, third estate. These are the main 3 categories of the people are there. In the first estate general, particularly clergymen. Look at that picture. First estate clergymen. Who are clergymen? Clergymen means priests and church officials. In those days, Christianity more popular. So most of the people followed Christianity. That's why most of the people Christianity was taken. So clergymen belongs to first estate general. Second estate, who are nobility. Nobility, who are nobles and landlords. These are belongs to second estate general. Third estate, common people, a big businessman, merchant, court officials, lawyers, teachers, etc. Peasants and artisans, craftsmen, small peasants, landless laborers, and servants. These 3 estates, first and second estates, only 5% of the total population, but they had huge landed estates and wealth. And both the first and second estate general had special privileges. They lived luxurious life and neglected their duties. Third estate gender, remaining people. Look at the picture. Privileges. What are the privileges enjoyed the first and second estate gender people? The peasants were about 90% of the total population of France. Total population, 90% of the population belongs to farmers. About 60% of the land was owned by the church and other rich members of the third estate gender. 60% of the lands under control by the church officials and other third estate members, rich people only. The clergy and aristocracy enjoyed certain privileges. Peasants. Look at this slide. Taxes will be imposed by the churches and feudals, landlords, and state. Peasants were only paid the taxes to the state, church, and feudal lords. Look at this, and also peasants services to give the state. That means they worked in king's palace, and they worked their fields, and they worked road buildings. In this way, they have lot of servicing given to the state. Taxes were also paid by them only. The first and second estates did not pay any taxes, but they were enjoyed with special privileges and rights. What are the taxes peasants were paid? Look at this. Church was levied tax, that name is tithe, and the state was imposed tax, that is daily. This is the direct tax. This tax should be paid directly to the state, that is daily, and uh, tithe should be paid by the peasants to the church officials. Not only these taxes, and also other taxes were also imposed by the country, that means state and church, feudal laws. Particularly, they were levied taxes on consumption articles we are using every day, such as salt, tobacco, and other articles. Look at that point. The third estate alone had to pay taxes to finance the activities of the state. Failure of crops. Not only general situation taxes were paid, and also particularly crops were failed. In that situation, peasants were paid to the taxes to the state, churches, and feudal lords. This is the situation in the France. In the French society, there was emerged a new social group, that is middle class. Although the middle class people belonged to third estate, but their financial conditions were better. They were educated and efficient traders. They had a prominent positions in industries and business, but they had no any social privileges like nobles and landlords. Not even the right of voting. The middle class people wage struggle for their rights and privileges. Look at this slide. Middle class. Who are who are the middle class people? Middle class people mainly they had they earned wealth through overseas trade and manufacturing of goods such as woolen and silk textiles. Merchants and manufacturers, lawyers, and administrative officials. These people are belonging to the middle class people. Particularly, they influenced by the writers. They had no any special privileges, though they influenced. They wanted freedom and right to vote. Particularly, these middle class group influenced by the writers, scholars, philosophers. Particularly, there are three. Look at these pictures. Mainly middle class people influenced by these philosophers like John Locke, Rousseau, Montesquieu. Oh, what they said in their writings. First, John Locke. He wrote a book that is two treatises of government. Look at this slide. John Locke wrote two treatises of government. What it is said. Particularly, society based on the freedom and equal laws and opportunities for all in his book. And also Rousseau said that in his book Social Contract. What he was said that in his book that is he proposed that government should be based on a social contract between the people and their representatives. Another philosopher is Mr. Montesquieu. He proposed that power should be divided among the legislature, executive, and judiciary. What is that? Decentralization of the powers among the particular constitutional institutions, legislature, executive, and judiciary. Mainly, the American colonies were followed these constitutional institutions powers distribution. So, middle class people mainly affected by these writings. And next, the outbreak of the revolution. On May 5th, 1789, Louis XVI called for a meeting to pass proposals for new taxes. Why He particularly in his period, French decided to take a first step in changing the social and political structure of the country. Mainly, they required some funds. To get funds, he has to oh, sorry, he had to call for he had to start a state general, that is called in our country parliament. Okay, he he started a state general, and in this state general meeting was started. The first estate and second estate, both the two estates sent 300 members for their representatives, and also third estate people were also sent 600 members to the estate general for the meeting. Peasants, artisans, and women were not allowed to enter the assembly. Only educated people were allowed to the estate general belonging to the third estate. Then their representation, their demands, their aspirations note down on the letters. 40,000 letters sent to them, third estate people. The Louis XVI wanted to implement the early voting system. What is the voting system in the early days, early kings? Look at this. First estate people, 300 members. First estate representatives, 300 members sat down, and second estate people or members, representatives, sat side by side, both the first estate and the second estate. Then the third estate people, members or representatives, were stand beside them. There is no respect. Anyhow, king wanted to hold practice voting system. Each estate has a vote. There are 3 estates. There are 3 votes only. But the members of the third estate demanded voting right on the basis of the population. But the first and second estate members oppose it. The members of the third estate declared that the third estate was the representative body of the majority of the nation, that is National Assembly. They declared themselves, we are the representative body to the nation, that is National Assembly. And the anger met in the near tennis court grounds and took an oath not to despair till a new constitution was made. This was the beginning of the French Revolution. Look at this tennis court art. The third estate were they declared they were the representative of the whole country, and also they let out the estate general, and they met in the nearby tennis court. It is the tennis court grounds in the Versailles. This National Assembly are these members were led by the three leaders, Mairabu, Abisayas, and Bailey. While the National Assembly was busy drafting a constitution at Versailles. This is one side of the France situation. Another side is there is a another circumstances in the society. Look at this tennis court earth. They pledged to drafting a new constitution. Look at this slide. One side of the French situation is there in Versailles, and the other side, rest of the country, there was raging chaos and disturbances in the rest of France. Chaos disturbances means violence raised in the society, in the country. Disturbances, not only violence, rallies, strikes, hartars, in different ways show the people their freedom against the king. This is one thing. Another thing is the crops had ruined because of extreme winter. That is winter season. Because of that, crops were failed. The price of bread went up. Because of this, bakers misused the situation and accumulated supplies of bread. They hide the food grains, that means bread. They angered people. Mainly, they wanted to get bread. Then people waited for hours in long queues at the bakery shops. But there is no bread was not available because of bakers were misused. Then people were angered. What happened that? This is one thing. Another thing is rumors spread out. Rumors spread out. Then the king would use force against the leaders of the third estate. The Paris crowd. Paris was fully crowded, and people were, that means third estate people were marched to Bastille Fort. What is the Bastille Fort? This is the jail of the nation, a state. Broke. That Bastille Fort was broke out, and its gates and let out the prisoners on 14th July 1789 CE. Then the 14th July 1789 was the French people declared the day of national importance, national day. Look at this picture. Bastille Fort was broke out, and gates were broke out, and let out the prisoners against the state. Then what happened? August 1789, the assembly passed a law to ban the feudal system of taxes and other obligations. Members of the clergy were also forced to give up their privileges. What it means that mainly the result of the The revolution, what happened? Feudalism in France was abolished. All feudal laws were scrapped. The large estates of the landlords were occupied by the government for distribution to the farmers or peasants. Look at this. Tithes were banned and lands owned by the church were taken back from them. All the church lands taken by them. Not only this, capitalism was introduced in place of old economic system. The privileges of special classes and concessions enjoyed by them were abolished. The second and third estate, nobles, priests, church officials, they were enjoyed with special privileges. All the privileges were abolished by the new constitution. That is, the National Assembly passed new laws according to them. They celebrated July 14th every year as a national day. Look at this picture, you can understand how they were enjoying or celebrating the national day. Then France becomes a constitutional monarchy. The National Assembly completed the draft of the constitution in 1791. Its main object was to reduce the powers of the monarch. That means limited powers to the given by the National Assembly to the king. Monarch means king. Only limited powers to the king, and also powers should be distributed. Powers distributed to the constitutional institutions like legislature, executive, and judiciary. What is that? Decentralization of powers. This made France a constitutional monarchy. There is a king. That is one side. Another side, constitution is also there. Mainly powers accumulated by the National Assembly. That means Parliament. What is the system, political system of the Constitution of 1791? Look at this picture. This is the structure of the 1791 Constitution. How to form the National Assembly? Look at this. Look at this. National Assembly. What is the formation of the, what is the structure of the National Assembly? National Assembly was elected by the electors, voters. Look at this. Who are the electors? Who are the electors? According to this constitution, providing the right to vote only above 25 years of age men only. Now, and also they had to pay at least 3 days of laborer charge or wage. They are the eligible for right to vote only. Rest of the people not allowed to the vote. Particularly women were not allowed, and other men and below 25 years age of men and women, and other men who are not able to pay 3 days of laborer's wage, they were not allowed to vote. Only 25 years of age men were able to vote, and they had to pay 3 3 days of laborers' wage. They are the eligible to right to vote. These electors choose their members to the National Assembly. They elected the members of the National Assembly. Look at this picture. Active citizens who have right to vote, men 25 years of age men, they are called active citizens. Rest of the people were passive citizens. No voting rights. They have no voting rights. Look at this. The structure of the legislature. National Assembly. 745 members elected to the National Assembly. Then powers given to the king. Powers given to the king. National Assembly was controlled the king. King and ministers, executive ministers have executive powers. They had to control the national. They have only king had veto power only. Ministers were not any veto power. This is one side of the structure of the Constitution of 1791. Look at this. This is judiciary. This is executive. Then these judges were elected by the active citizens only. This is the structure of the constitutional monarchy. It was made so many laws. Only the active citizens and had right to vote to become an elector and a member of assembly. The constitution began with a declaration of the rights of man and citizen. The constitution began with a declaration of rights of man and citizen. It is very important. The constitution started with the human rights. It was the duty of the government to protect these 17 citizens' natural rights. These are the natural rights given by the Constitution 1791 to the people. Look at this. These are the important rights mentioned here. There are particularly 17 natural rights. In this picture, only 10 rights are mentioned here. Observe and read after this class. Then the course of the revolt. What happened? National Assembly drafted a new constitution 1791. The reformers were not satisfied by the changes made by the National Assembly. There are so many reforms introduced by the National Assembly. These reforms were not satisfied by the reformers. Particularly the one kind of class, that is extremists. Particular they established a new political clubs. These political clubs led by the Jacobins. Jacobins means Jacobin is the name of the convent, Saint Jacob Chain Saint Convent in Paris. Though this was led by the Jacobin clubs led by the Robespierre. Who are the members belonging to the Jacobin clubs? The members of the Jacobin club were small shopkeepers, artisans such as shoemakers, pastry cooks, watchmakers, printers, as well as servants and daily wage workers. These were all belonging to the Jacobin club. Jacobin clubs coming days are called political clubs. The Jacobin club planned a revolt against the National Assembly. They started a big revolution started in Paris with the people. August 10th, they entered the palace of the Tuileries. Tuileries is the king's palace. They entered 1792 August. Later, the National Assembly voted to imprison the royal family. The royal family was imprisoned. Then National Assembly was dissolved. Look at this. Elections were held. All men of 21 years of age, they have right to vote. Who are completed 21 years of age, they have right to vote. The elected members were Girondists, Jacobins, and common people. Girondists means already royal family members. These were also participated in the election. Jacobins, extremists, and common people. Okay. On September 21st, 1792, the convention banned the monarchy and declared France a republic. It is the first republic announced by the established by the Jacobins. Louis XVI and Queen Mary Antoinette was sentenced to death in 1793. Then the extremist Jacobins came to power and successfully fought against the foreign enemies and drove them away. The revolution was preserved. Reign of Terror. The period from 1793 to 1794, known as the Reign of Terror. Extremists, that means Jacobins, came to the throne, came to the power. In their period, what happened in the society? Particularly, these Jacobins were led by Robespierre. There is a highlighted Robespierre. Look at that. Robespierre, in his period, followed a policy of strict control and punishment. He arrested, imprisoned, and then tried all people he saw as enemies of the republic through a revolutionary tribunal. They included ex-nobles and clergy members of other political parties, even members of his own party who did not agree with his methods. If the court found them guilty, they were guillotined. There are very strictly punishments given by the Robespierre, that is guillotine. Not only this, all the people were allowed to have only a fixed amount of meat and bread. Peasants were forced to send their grain to the cities and sell it at prices fixed by the government. and also he ordered to take only bread made up of whole wheat. Churches were shut down and their buildings were converted into barracks offices. Robespierre implemented his policies so strictly that even his supporters wanted him to relax the policies, but he didn't care about them. Finally, he was convicted by a court in July 1794 and arrested, sent to the guillotine. Look at this picture. This is the guillotine, one type of the punishment object. Guillotine, how they were give the punishment, that is death sentence. This is one of the revolutionary period. In this period, women, what is the role of women in the French Revolution? What is the importance of the women? From very beginning, women were active participants in the French Revolutions, any event. But they had no any rights. Particularly, they have no political rights. They have no right to vote. They were not treated equal positions like man. Women started their own political clubs and newspapers to discuss and voice their interests. Women were disappointed that the Constitution of 1791 made them passive citizens. Look at this. Women were started their revolutions in this picture. How they were struggle against the state. Their political clubs, they were discussing about their problems in this picture. This is one side. Finally, National Convention framed a constitution. It led to the formation of the Directory. What is the Directory? Directory is the 5 members committee, executive team. Now it was ruled the country. Directory. Convention is over. National Convention is over. Then started new rule by the Directory, the 5-member executive team. They were ruled some time, but they lost their believeness among the people. Look, because of there are so many reasons, they lost their innocency. Particularly, they were incapable persons, corrupted people, no unity among them. It lost the popularity among the people. Treasury was empty. The currency value decreased. Unemployment increased. These are the main reasons. They are unpopular among the people. Directory. Then Napoleon came to the power. Directory was look at this picture. Napoleon Bonaparte, 1769 to 1821. Napoleon was born in 1769 in Corsica Island. Napoleon Bonaparte formed a new government called the Consulate. Consulated. It was ruled 1799 to 1804. He declared himself. Consulate was ruled um, 1799 to 1804. After he declared himself the Emperor of the France in 1804. He defeated Austria, Russia of the Europe. He also occupied Spain and Portugal. Total whole European countries were controlled by the Napoleon Bonaparte in his reign, except England and Turkey kingdoms. All the monarchy powers merged into an alliance under the leadership of England to defeat Napoleon Bonaparte. In his period, he ruled very good. He expanded his kingdom also. He conquered many kingdoms in many European countries like Austria, Russia, Spain, Portugal, and other European countries. Finally, to defeat Napoleon Bonaparte, defeated countries, defeated states, monarchy powers. These monarchy powers merged an alliance to defeat the Napoleon Bonaparte. Then this alliance and Napoleon Bonaparte faced a war, that is Battle of Waterloo in 1815. In this war, Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated by the alliance. It was led by the England. After this after this war, Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated and sent to Saint Helena Island. 1821, he was dead. Look at this. These are the European countries in different colors showed here. Observe these. Then next, these are the alliance who are merged an alliance countries. These are all. After the war, there is a meeting started in Austria. Where is the Austria? Austria in Europe country. It is Vienna Congress. Vienna Congress started 1815 after defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte. It was chairmanship of Metternich. Who is Metternich? What is Vienna? Vienna is the capital city of Austria. Metternich is the Prime Minister of Austria. According to Vienna Congress rules and regulations, monarchy was restored in many of the kingdoms. These kingdoms were occupied by the Napoleon Bonaparte. After defeat of the Napoleon Bonaparte, these countries were restored. After Napoleon Bonaparte, Louis XVIII was appointed as the King of France. He ruled sometime. After him, new king came to the throne. Particularly, Charles X was succeeded by 18th Louis. Look at both of the pictures, Louis XVIII and Charles X. They were ruled in France. Charles X, particularly Charles X, mainly he tried for the revival of the special rights of the nobles and clergymen. He abolished the freedom of press and the House of Representatives. In his period, 1830, revolution took place and his close relative Louis Philippe was appointed as the king. Look at this picture, his name Louis Philippe. What were the reforms introduced by the Charles X? They were all the reforms were not satisfied the people. Then revolution took place, and Louis Philippe was appointed as the king. 1830. He is the king of French. After his period, he failed in bringing new reforms which the people wished. He prohibited the reformatory banquets with the cause of conspiracy against him. Then another revolution broke out in his period. Then in 1848 the revolution was started in Louis Philippe fled away from France to the England. Then later the revolutionaries declared France was second republic. It was restored under the reign of Napoleon III. Next, King Napoleon III. There is a difference, Napoleon Bonaparte and Napoleon III. Both are different. Remind it. Finally, after him, France was declared a republic for the third time under the leadership of Leon Gambetta. Louis Philippe and Napoleon III. This is the main topics in this today's class. You can understand what did you understand about the class, and we discuss after this class some questions. Describe the circumstances leading to the outbreak of revolutionary protests in France. How do you understand women's role in French Revolution? Read the para under the title The Reign of Terror of page 158 and comment on it. Okay, thank you, all of you. If you any doubt, discuss with your class teacher, subject teacher. Thank you.